I can't find anybody that knows anything about where she might be.
You have a very attractive female who has disappeared.
Time felt like it was standing still. I was in a panic.
Murder always was in the back of our head.
It's all not adding up to me. She would never just peace out on her children.
We don't have a scene. We don't have a body. We don't have any evidence.
I came back home. We got to a fight. A little bit later, she was gone.
We both know Michelle did not walk out of that apartment.
Michelle Warner is my daughter. From the earliest that I can remember, Michelle wanted to be an attorney.
She has an amazing soul.
She's real bubbly and outgoing and fun to be around.
She's the greatest mom ever to Haley and Caden. Haley's dad is her ex-husband. They have an amicable relationship. Caden's father was Mark. Mark and Michelle never married. When Caden was born, Mark was there, but he disappeared from 3 months to about 3 years. That he really, literally was not in Caden's life. Once Mark came back into the picture, Michelle was glad that Caden's father was around because her family is so important to her.
With Michelle Warner's case, she went missing on Saturday. She was reported on Monday from her coworkers. Her family members re-reported her on Tuesday, and we got the case on Tuesday.
So it's all not adding up to me. Michelle would always get in contact. She would never just peace out on her children.
Because that just wouldn't happen. I mean, ever.
Michelle is the oldest of my two. David is her brother. Once we heard Michelle is missing, David called people who he knew should have had some contact with Michelle. He had even called Mark, Caden's father.
Why did her job call you?
He put me down as the emergency contact.
And what did you tell them?
I told her that she didn't come home.
Every lead that I have to Michelle, and I can't find a fucking thing, anybody that knows anything about where she might be. And you're the last person I know of that's actually seen her.
Yeah, I am.
Mark and Michelle met in early 2008. I first knew of Mark in her life as this IT guy at work. The relationship grew. 3-4 months later, she was pregnant with Caden. And they had gone into more of a boyfriend-girlfriend type relationship, but it didn't work out.
Michelle had finally landed this great paralegal job in Houston. Mark had previously been living in Odessa and hadn't been in Caden's life, and then he moved to Houston. So her and Mark decided to move in together in a roommate situation.
She just wanted a little bit of help, and he was going to take more of an active role in watching Caden.
We really can't assume anything until we find out more facts on the case and do a lot more interviews. On my list was Mark and Scott, who is a boyfriend of Michelle.
Scott and Michelle were very close. Mark was jealous of him.
On Tuesday, I called, left a message for Mark. And when Mark actually called back on Wednesday, he just started telling me a lot of things.
She and I were not together romantically, physically, friends. We weren't even friends. We just tolerated each other for the best of Caden. I came back home, and we got to a fight. Goes back into her room and shuts the door. The master bedroom, that's her bedroom, has a back door that goes to the parking area. And a little bit later, I go in there to confront her. She was moved on.
Was this on Friday or Saturday?
This is all on Saturday.
Okay.
This is all on Saturday.
Mark, where are you now?
I came home to Odessa, Texas. I'm with my family. I call my parents, and I'm like, I need help with Kaden because she has a history of leaving and not coming back. I went there and came back twice.
Well, we're going to have to speak to you in person. Are you going to be able to make it back to Houston?
I can come up this weekend or something.
Yes, please. Where do you think Michelle is at now?
She's a drug user. She's somewhere, all strung out, and when she decides to finally talk to somebody, she will.
We found that Michelle was arrested before. She has been into drugs. Sometimes when people relapse, they may be gone for several days. Maybe a drug dealer, she went to buy drugs and somebody killed her in that manner or kept her.
When she divorced her husband, she started on a downhill spiral of depression. Michelle began with prescription medication, legally prescribed, and as she lost her health insurance, she started buying illegal drugs, and she was arrested for cocaine possession.
Her drug use led to her losing custody of Haley, which that's the worst thing that could have ever happened to her.
At that point, we didn't have Kaden. After Michelle completed the rehab program, her main priorities were her career and Haley. She has been clean for 8 years, so we really didn't have a reason to be overly concerned that she had drifted back into that lifestyle, and we hadn't seen any recent signs that she had.
Mark told the police that she took off to do drugs. We weren't quite sure why. They were just taking his word for it. I was upset. Here Michelle's missing. No one's heard from her. So I decided to get the media involved to put pressure on the police.
When Michelle Warner mysteriously vanished last week, her family and friends became highly suspicious. Loved ones say her disappearance is not really like her at all.
We love her. She's a huge part of our family, and we want her back. We want to bring her home.
When we feel that, hey, it's a high-profile case, we do get homicide involved because they are a bigger department.
You have a very attractive female who has disappeared under strange circumstances. These are the types of cases that the national media will pick up.
The more time ticked by with no word at all from Michelle, she was, from all indications, a good mom. Our concern was, if she did slip, why wouldn't she now at least reach out? And that was the one thing that bothered us, and that's why murder always was in the back of our head.
That's what leads us on that Thursday, the 27th, to go to Michelle's apartment.
We were met by media, and we were met by numerous friends and some family members. They were very accusatory of Mark.
All the family and friends thought that Mark had done something to Michelle. They always kind of had an explosive relationship.
We couldn't keep our blinders on and just say Mark. We certainly had to look at other possibilities.
Knowing that Scott Russell had a relationship with her, it is important that we look at Scott Russell. Other than Mark, Scott is actually the last person that sees Michelle.
According to her family, Michelle Warner mysteriously vanished nearly a week ago. Michelle had started a new job as a paralegal and had high hopes for the future. Loved ones say she would never leave her 11-year-old daughter and her 3-year-old son.
As part of the investigation, one of the things we like to do is try to piece together that person's life.
So Michelle has a variety of relationships with people. One of those being Scott Russell, who is an on-again, off-again boyfriend. Other than Mark, Scott is actually the last person that sees Michelle.
I was able to speak to Scott. He said that the Friday before, he and Michelle had gone on a date, and then they had gone over back to the house, and he said he left like right around 9:30, 10 o'clock, and she was fine. It's still an early investigation. I'll try to verify what he said.
We had gone to the apartment.
And we really stared at a note to Michelle from Mark.
Completely divorces himself of any relationship with Michelle. He's got Kaden. You're not getting him back.
He does not use very nice language towards her in this note. He's not looking like he's very concerned. Where are you?
Either this guy didn't have anything to do with Michelle leaving and is missing, or he's one clever SOB. And he puts this up here to throw us off, because if he's done anything bad to her, this is not what you would think you would find. We're searching the bedroom, and Brian opens the door to the closet. And I get the strangest feeling, hair standing up on the back of my neck, heebie-jeebies, whatever you want to call it. Just a very odd sense of something that happened here. But we don't find anything that is retrievable in terms of evidence. No blood stains, nothing that would indicate anything happened other than Michelle leaving. Michelle's missing person case was all over the nation. Michelle's family are really, really castigating Mark. It is all over the media. We did not want their messaging getting to Mark in Odessa and he getting upset and saying, hey, you know what? If that's what they think, I'm not talking to the police. I make a tactical decision to contact Mark Castellano directly and confirm with him that he is returning to Houston for this interview on Sunday, and that I would like to be the one to speak with him. Now, my conversation with him is consistent with the conversations he had with David and with Danny. He wants to talk.
And early Sunday morning, we do an interview with Mark Castellano.
And I will be right back. All right. I'm going to, what we're essentially going to do is take a statement.
Okay. Once somebody has established a relationship, you're going to use that in the interview room. When he called and spoke to Mark, that simple phone call established Phil's authority. It was a no-brainer. Phil was going to be the guy in the interview room.
My calling was law enforcement. Did a lot of undercover work, which was a ball. Those were the days of Miami Vice. There was also Vanilla Ice days. I really looked good. But it's a young man's game, so I left the sheriff's office and came to the Houston Police Department. I have spent the last almost 23 years of my career in homicide. I don't start an investigation seeking to determine guilt or innocence, because that's not my job. My job is to seek the truth.
The box is where it all happens. We have the gray foam to absorb the sound. There's a table in the corner of the room, and then a chair with 4 solid legs about 18 inches away from the end of that table. If we allowed him to be at that table, he can use that table as a security blanket.
You're not under arrest.
Right.
You're not in custody.
Right.
You're free to leave. So just want to make sure we're clear on that. Again, you want to build them up. You want to reduce their anxiety. And then we begin to further our relationship. Again, I appreciate you coming in. And
yes, sir.
And because it's, the whole point of all of this is to find Michelle.
Right. Yes, sir. Hopefully.
Okay. Mark slides his chair and moves it towards the end of the table.
That indicates to me that he's making himself comfortable. Kind of shows he's relaxed about all this. First thing I do is instruct him to move his chair back where I want it. You'll just keep your chair turned.
Okay.
Like we had it there. Okay. And there's a couple of reasons for that. Number one, I want him to know you're in my house and I'm in control of this interview. And the second thing is, I wanted to gauge his response to my request. He's almost apologetic for having moved the chair. I can imagine that you are probably getting tired of telling this story over and over and over again. But I would kind of like to start when you first met Michelle, because I know there's a lot of history there.
Right.
And then we'll kind of walk. We don't have a scene. We don't have a body. We don't have any evidence. We've got nothing. I'm going to get to the truth in this conversation.
What happened to this beautiful young woman, mother of two? It's a breaking news story.
When Michelle was missing, I spent a bunch of that time looking at pictures and saying, "Where are you, Michelle?" Time felt like it was standing still. I was in a panic.
Search crews plan on canvassing the complex and passing out flyers in the area. The goal to locate the mother.
Mark's done something to her. I know he has. I just had a feeling like, I just knew it.
And if you know anything out there, please immediately contact law enforcement.
When we get into any of these investigations, it is as important to eliminate a suspect as it is to find the right person. Knowing that Scott Russell had a relationship with her, it is important that we look at Scott Russell. Now, Danny did most of the heavy lifting on the investigation into Scott Russell and his background.
I felt that he was honest. He loved her and really wanted to know where Michelle was.
We don't see anything really that is going to lead us to keep Scott on the board as a suspect.
Are you still in love with her, and you just don't like her, or how is that kind of manifesting?
I tolerate her. I don't love her. I'm not in love with her. I mean, I don't want anything to happen. I wish Michelle would pop up right now.
Yeah,
hey,
yeah.
I need here.
Okay. He's giving me the Mark Castellano version of how horrible Michelle was.
She kind of been on me about the amount of money I was making. This last month, while she told me that me and my family were the sack of crap, the more she's not around, the less she calls me, the happier I am.
Okay. I let him talk for 2 hours, over 2 hours. Mark's got the story down. He's got the established set of facts that he's going to try to convince everyone this is what happened, which is indicating to me he's done something to Michelle.
When she gets mad, she's violent. She'll hit you. She thinks she has the right to. The way she'll sit there and tell you the way she's raised, a man has to take up crap. She's a pretty girl and she gets everything she wants. She has a princess attitude.
Wow. All roads are now leading to Mark. Without Mark saying, I did it and that's where I took her, we've got nothing. It is a confession case.
Is she using any kind of drugs at that time that you're aware of? Has she introduced that into the relationship yet?
Adderall.
Which is treating her for what?
ADHD.
Okay.
And so hydrocodone, 10/325.
Mm-hmm.
And she, getting to know me, she said, well, you were in a car accident. You could go get some for me. It gets pretty bad for a great while. The pill demand work. I was starting to notice that I'm changing. She's having me do a lot of things, hey, we have an extra computer, take one from the company. I need one for my brother. Or hey, I need you to get me something like this.
So she's basically asking you to steal now?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And of course I do it.
Okay.
I did it.
Well, you're invested in this relationship.
Right.
She
pretty much at this point owns me.
What Mark Castellano did with Phil is paint himself as the victim.
He's blaming Michelle for his bad acting to make himself look better. Let's get to last Saturday, the 22nd.
Okay. As soon as I open the door, it's like a battle zone. And the first thing she says is, he gets into the sugar and dumps it everywhere. You left it somewhere, blah, blah, blah. And just goes on and on. I said something about, did you take too many pills and you can't watch Caden or something? I said, and she's like, well, what are, you sorry, pussy? And she's like, and she just walked down and she's like, by the way, you better clean it up right. And at that time she walked up to me and just hit me like that.
Now, are you standing? Where are you? What are you doing?
I'm like this. There's the desk right here. I'm on like this, picking up stuff.
Are you in the living room?
I'm in the living room where there's those two spots on that carpet.
Yeah, with the computer desk.
By the computer desk, there's that hallway, and right there by the leg, I'm over there reaching, picking up stuff, and by that time I turn, I see her come up, and then when she comes up close to me and I see her arm swing, I put my head like that, she hits me like that.
Up underneath you?
Yeah, like that. It wasn't hard or anything. I'm used to it at this point.
Sure.
And she walks out and slams the door to her room. And about 10, 15 minutes later, I opened the door to say, well, you know what? And she's gone. Well,
Where's Caden when all this is?
He's in his room hiding.
So you think that, Michelle's been screaming at him, and that's why he goes in and reacts the way he
does? Because at one time I got her...
Did she curse at him?
Yes. She sat there and got in his face one time, and she's on here like this. I'll get on my knees.
Go ahead.
And he's sitting there and shaking his little hand, and she's sitting there grabbing him, and don't you ever... You're going to turn out to be a sorry piece of crap like your dad, you sorry mother... little... And at that point, I came over to her and pushed her like that. She didn't. She caught herself, and I said, get up. Don't do that anymore.
Whether those things actually occurred, in his mind, they did. I have to play off of that to make him understand that I recognize that. Yeah.
My heart goes out to you, man, because what you have put up with for 3 years of your little boy's life, I very much appreciate and understand your feelings about your son.
Right.
I have a son. He's 27 years old now. I was about your age when he was about 3.
Wow.
So I get it.
The interviews that we do, we try to find something that we have in common so that we can establish that relationship further. We're both fathers.
This is about Caden. This is about Caden.
Mm-hmm.
So, whatever did happen in the apartment between you and Michelle, that's resulted in her now disappearing. We use that word for lack of a better term.
Right.
It's my impression that what that was about, what that argument was about, what that confrontation was about last weekend, it wasn't about you wanting to hurt Michelle. It was about your love for Caden. And it was about your burden.
Right, yeah.
About protecting Caden.
Right, because he wasn't being taken care of.
Exactly.
Detective Waters, he masterfully uses the good choice, bad choice technique when he says, Mark, this isn't about hurting Michelle, the bad choice. This is about your love for Caden, the good choice.
Whatever happened between you and Michelle in the course of her cursing at you, slapping you in the face, hitting you while you're on your knees on the ground, picking up stuff that she has directed you to do, that was just the straw that broke the camel's back. And now Mark is in protective mode for Caden. This is not happening anymore. Michelle is not going to harm my son anymore, either emotionally or physically or verbally or in any way, shape, or form, and I am going to have to resolve the problem now. And that's exactly what you did.
Well, I was able to give him a perspective that what he did was right, and that gives him justification for what he did.
This is the opportunity to talk about all those things, because you've told me. You've already told me. You've laid the groundwork for what happened in that apartment. And I'm on board with you. This isn't about trying to make Mark look like a bad guy. I'm telling you, I could not. I'm listening to your story, man, and I almost want to cry for you. I just can't imagine the stress and the pressure put on you because of the love you have for Caden when you watch this woman continually berate him and treat him so terribly, because she's doing the same thing to you that she's doing to a 3-year-old, and you're an adult.
I give him that little bit of empathy, and he is agreeing with me. He is soaking this stuff in. So as we continue to talk along those lines and we share that part of the relationship, it's very easy to transition into what happened to Michelle and what's the truth.
So I need you to explain to me. I need you to explain to me what happened. We both know. Michelle did not walk out of that apartment. She did not walk out of that apartment. We both know it. We both know the circumstances under which whatever did happen, happened. I'm not wanting you to explain to me that you wanted to hurt Michelle. I want you to explain to me what you felt like you had to do to protect Caden. So I want you to be honest with me and tell me what happened.
When he took the glasses off, I'm just thinking to myself, I cannot wait to hear what he's about to say.
She got up, and I got up, and she's getting dressed, and she's finishing up, and she's still yelling, and Caden's hiding. I grabbed her and I broke her neck. She told me I was a sorry fucking pussy and that she was gonna control me the rest of my life. And I grabbed her by her neck and and just threw her on the bed. And
so she's facing you?
Yeah, and I heard it pop, and then her tongue fucked up, it popped out, and that was it.
Okay.
I mean, I sit there and held it, and the time I realized what I did, she was dead.
When I've had a suspect who's just confessed to me about the most horrific act a human can commit on another, it tells me that I have fulfilled the calling that I believed I was meant for.
My son David received a call. I just remember seeing David's face go ashen white, and I remember him saying thank you with a really weak, cracking voice, and he got off the phone as quickly as he could, and he started crying, and I knew then. And I didn't know if I felt worse knowing that she was gone or how bad David felt, because this is my other child that's still alive, because his best friend is gone.
I got that call that he confessed. I was in the car and I literally had to stop driving. I just kind of broke down and immediately went to the thought of her babies and how he could do something so horrible to the mother of his child and then leave his son parentless.
I don't have anything else. I didn't have anything else to do.
Look at me, my friend. Look at me.
I'm sorry. Give me the death penalty, that's fine.
Look.
I deserve it.
Mark, look, I'm proud of you.
My life is over with anyway.
Your life's not over with, Mark. Mark.
I'm saying to him, Mark, your life's not over. Well, yeah, it pretty much is, but I can't say that. I have to reassure him. I want to build him up and make him feel as though that what he's done is the right thing. Because now, I want to get the full confession from him.
It takes a real man to take responsibility of what he's done. And there's a big difference between accountability and responsibility. Okay? You're going to be held accountable. The system is going to hold you accountable. But only you can take responsibility. You've done that, and I'm proud of you. You understand?
Yes, sir.
Okay. There's no need for me to do any more Jedi mind trick interview stuff on him. This is all out in the open now. So now we just need to get down to brass tacks. Here's what we need to accomplish now. I want to know what happened.
Can you kind of draw me the apartment and then just kind of show me in the room where she was?
Like, here's the bed. Here's a closet. And here's that door going to outside.
Okay.
I walked in, and that's when I grabbed her, and then I threw her on the bed right there.
Okay.
And then after that, I covered her up, and before he left, I threw her in the closet.
he put Michelle in that closet. It took me back to that moment in that apartment when Brian opened that closet door. Michelle came out of that closet, delivered the message to me.
Here's what we need to do, Mark. I brought Brian in, and I know this is painful, but I wanted you to demonstrate for Brian what happened. That'd be all right?
It's through the demonstrations that they own it, that they own their actions, and you see the real Mark come out.
I push her and then grab her and then fall down on the floor.
I know you're not going to do it because I got my brother Phil here to help me out. All right?
And then I sit there.
And then what did she do?
Well, when she fell down, I heard that, and then her tongue stuck out, and I just
knew that wasn't good.
Knew that wasn't good.
Strangulation, most likely the most personal way to murder someone. You are right up there in their face. You are so angry. You are so consumed. Your only goal is to literally choke the life out of this person.
I'm going to go check on the plane.
Okay.
It is not what you see on television in terms of someone just confesses and then boom, they're off to jail. That is just not the way it works, not in real life. We'd already had this discussion with the district attorney's office. If he confesses, he's going to have to corroborate that confession by giving us the body. This entire time, he can get up and walk out of that room because he ain't under arrest. And he's not going to be under arrest until we recover Michelle.
Hey, Mom. Well, I confessed. I did it.
Mark requested to call his father. This is non-custodial still. He has not been charged with anything.
I confessed I killed her.
And the hope was that he would give more detail to lead us to Michelle.
I want to apologize for lying to you. I did kill her. It happened so quick. It happened so quick that I didn't know I was going to break her neck.
Then Mark goes on his I Killed Michelle tour. He starts calling everyone that he knows.
I just confessed to killing Michelle. And I wanted you to know that she's dead. I'm sorry for a lot of things that I'm fixing to tell you, but I did so quick. I broke her neck. Oh, just one of those big boxes that we used to move in. She actually fit. You know, she's gained a lot of weight.
Yeah, I killed her. She'd gained some weight. She's a little heavy. It was incredible.
It was a moment of rage. I couldn't take it anymore.
It was astounding to watch him stuff his face with this meatball sub and talk on the phone, talking about, I killed Michelle. Big old meatball in the mouth.
I always shouted out loud that I said, I already killed that stupid bitch. I used to say it all the time, but when I came home, what did I do? I did everything she wanted me to do.
He's a narcissist. This is all about him. This wasn't necessarily about protecting Caden from Michelle. This was about ridding a problem for Mark.
We were now dealing with murder, and we did not want to present what Mark had said until we had evidence, the evidence of the body.
What time do you decide to start looking for a place to put her? You left with her Saturday night, right?
No, Sunday morning. I didn't take her the first time.
Okay, that makes sense. So she's in the closet. That's why you came back.
There were surveillance cameras on an office building directly across from Mark and Michelle's apartment. September 24th, which is going to be Sunday night, Monday morning, we see Mark Castellano moving stuff out of the apartment.
I put a plastic bag over her face because I could see her looking at her eyes. Find that tub that we were moving stuff in out of one of the closets. Put her in there
and you were able to carry it, or?
Oh hell no! She just slid down the stairs. I couldn't pick. I had a hard time putting her in the car.
Now we see him dragging what appears to be a large container of some kind down the steps of the apartment. So we were able to confirm his story.
The second time you go to Odessa is when she's in the car.
Mm-hmm.
All right. How long was she in the car?
For about a day, I guess.
So do you actually go to your parents' house with her in the back seat?
Mark killed Michelle, drove her 7 hours, let her rot in a car while sitting in his parents' driveway, and this is his son's mother.
This entire time, he's not under arrest. In order to even charge Mark Castellano, we're going to have the body that goes with the confession.
Draw to the best of your ability where you, and then I'll try to pull it up on Google Maps, okay?
All right, 20.
We know that he took the body of Michelle to Odessa. We asked Mark to draw a map. 7 to 9 miles down Midkiff, Midkiff. Okay. This map was very detailed. We were able to take our cell phone, take a picture of it, and send it to the FBI evidence team in the Midland and Odessa police departments and sheriff's office. And they started the search for Michelle out in the oil fields.
We searched and we walked, and we weren't successful. So I called in Mounted Patrol, which is who we have that come out on their horses, and then I called the DPS helicopter to come out and see if they could see anything from the sky. We knew that if we didn't find the body, it was going to make their case extremely hard. It's very rare you get a conviction in court without somebody finding the body. I was really hoping we'd find it fast, but we didn't.
I worried a lot that Michelle's body would not ever be found. It matters to me. It matters to me to know.
It was around 6:35 p.m. We'd been out there searching for approximately 4 hours. I walked out into the field and I decided I'm going to give it one last shot. So I walked along the wind, so it was blowing off to my left. And at one point I caught a scent, and it's a scent that you just can't forget. It's a decomposed body of some type. And I walked that line, and I'm telling you, I walked right up to the body. It had been partially buried. There was just a little bit of dirt on top. It was not a good sight. He dumped her body like she was a piece of trash.
I remember the FBI agent saying, "We found her."
And it's at that point that Detective Waters put Mark Castellano under arrest for the murder of Michelle Warner.
So the trial, Mark's defense is sudden passion, it was an accident.
And as a result of the evidence recovered, but more importantly, the confession of Mark Castellano to Detective Waters, Mark was convicted of murder.
And the prosecution was asking for life.
And he received what I thought was a very light sentence of 27 years.
I do not know what was in the jury's mind when they came back with that sentence.
Everyone just got angry, and it was just insulting.
In about another decade, he'll come up for his first parole hearing. Caden is still going to be a young man, because Caden is 8 now. Haley's dad has custody of Haley, and my ex-husband and his wife are doing a great job with Caden.
27 years for taking away somebody from everybody. Caden's not even gonna know who his mama is.
It was disturbing to me when the judge announced the sentence And Mark Castellano looked at the jury and mouthed the words, "Thank you."
He definitely didn't get what he deserved. He took away a good, honest, fun-loving person. She was an incredible mother. She loved her family. She loved her friends. She just loved life.
She had beauty, intelligence, personality, and talent. She was one of those people that you just wanted to be around. The biggest thing that I miss about Michelle is that bright smile.
I went out in the garage and found him.
What do you mean you found him?
I found him dead.
Okay.
The truck was on him.
The hairs kind of raised up on my arm because I kind of knew that something wasn't right.
All I see is 2 feet, and the truck's off the jack. And I realized there's nothing I can do.
Law enforcement said it was an accident.
The constant thing that's going through our minds is being the voice for Levi.
The Levi Carlson case is a case that will stick with me for the rest of my life.
As a mom, I had no choice. My main goal was to keep us alive.
Maybe he's so mad he wants to do something right there. I'm just thinking, I hope this guy doesn't do anything stupid.
Probably the hardest part for me is when I had to reach down and I felt his leg, and it was cold.
911, what's location of your emergency?
Yes, a truck fell on my stepson.
Okay, are you with your son right now?
He's not alive.
Is he breathing?
No.
He is not breathing. Okay.
No.
Okay, we're going to start CPR, okay?
Carl, they want to start CPR. Do you know CPR? His chest is crushed.
His chest is crushed?
No. He's probably been under here for hours.
Okay.
Oh my God.
Levi died in November of 2008, and that day we had to go to a funeral. So we headed out to the car, and Carl just said, "Oh, I'm going to go out and let Levi know that we're leaving."
My son come over in the morning. He was helping me because he liked working on trucks because he'd work a little bit to have a little extra money. So we leave the house prior to noon to go to the funeral. It's almost an hour away.
We drove home, but when we rounded the bend of the farm, I noticed that Levi's truck was still in the same spot. He hadn't worked on it. And, the hairs kind of raised up on my arm because I kind of knew that something wasn't right about that.
I'll go out in the garage and see what he's doing. And all I see is 2 feet. And the truck's off the jacks and off the blocks. So I yelled to the wife, she calls 911. I get the jack back under, get it jacked up, pull up his shirt. And I realized there's nothing I can do.
When I got there, I was first law enforcement on scene. Carl said that when he had went in there, the truck had fallen on Levi, and that he had jacked the truck up, and that he pulled him out from underneath the truck. His chest was caved in. I could tell that he had been deceased for quite a while.
Every day I go in that garage, you got to walk over that spot on the floor. You have to ask yourself, what could you have done different? If I was there, it would maybe not happen, or I could have got it off him quick.
Now, Seneca County, being a agricultural community, accidents on these farms are not uncommon. Doctor signed off on the death certificate as accidental. It appeared to be an accident at that point. So at that point, the case never got turned over to investigations.
Levi, he was smart with computers, and he would help on the farm. Him and his older sister were really close. His little brother idolized him because he's the big brother. You know, he'd get him out in the go-kart, take his little brother, put him between his legs, and they'd go ramming around.
Levi was the kind of kid that seemed like he got transplanted into Seneca County. He was kind of the punk rocker meets farm boy. He had the piercings, and he was a little bit out there, but all in all, he was a great kid. He would work for me during the day and then help his grandfather at night restoring an old tractor. It just doesn't seem like a thing a punk rock kid would do, but that was Levi.
At the funeral, 500 plus people came through that evening. Very heartwarming to know that Levi had touched so many lives. Levi loved his girls. It was so evident every time he was around them, and they loved him. When I met Carl, he was a single dad trying to raise 3 children on his own. We ended up getting married 9 months after we met, you know, and my dream of, you know, a happy family with a white picket fence was going to come true. And in 1995, my son Alexander was born. Fit right in with the family, you know, his older siblings loved him and helped take care of him. So there, from the outside looking in, was my perfect little world. But it was shortly after we got married that I started noticing things with Carl that he didn't always tell the truth about things. Catching him in lies, mainly about money. I realized early on that he did not know how to manage money. And this unfortunately continued throughout our whole marriage. Looking back, probably living in a little bit of denial myself because I didn't want that perfect picture that I had in my head to not be true. I don't even think it had been 2 weeks yet after Levi died that Carl had come to me and had told me that Levi had signed up for this life insurance policy. Carl had also told me that Levi had made Carl beneficiary. Law enforcement said it was an accident. The life insurance company paid out right away. They don't do that if they suspect anything. There wasn't any red flags there, so months after Levi died, I started having a panic attack. You know, these thoughts would come to my head that some things just really didn't add up. So then I started thinking about the death of his first wife, Christina. He told me that, you know, back in 1992, when I met Carl, that he had lost his wife in a house fire. And, you know, he said he didn't have anything to do with it. And then I would go on for a while. You know, I kind of just thought I was being a little paranoid until a few months later when another panic attack would hit me. You know, maybe he did go out and push the truck on Levi. And, you know, he has all this money now. So I hired a private investigator in the fall of 2010, and he ended up doing some research.
When we dug into Carl's history, I found the life insurance policy on Cindy. Cindy could be a potential next victim.
The private investigator contacted me and told me that he found out that I was worth $1.2 million dead to Carl. Now this put me in another sheer panic. The private investigator had also uncovered some paperwork from the fire in California and discovered that they had been investigating Carl, but because Carl had left and came back to New York immediately, that Calaveras County in California did not have the funds to go after him, so they let him go.
The phone rang, and it was Cindy, and I picked up the phone. I could tell she was crying, and she just said, "Jackie, I've got to tell you something." And I said, "Well, what? What's the matter, Cindy?" And she said, "I think Carl killed Levi." I said, "But I don't understand why Carl would kill Levi. What would be the purpose?" I said, "There was no life insurance or anything." And she said, "Yes, there was." For a good 2 months, I tried to get Cindy to go to the police department. You know, I just kept saying, "Cindy, you know, Carl's going to do something to you." You know, I was very, very scared for her.
February 27th, 2012, and I get a phone call from Jackie Heimel. This is 4 years after Levi's death, and she asks if we investigated a death involving Levi Carlson. So I told Jackie, yes, I see it here. I pulled up the report. It said it was handled by Road Patrol. It's down here as an accident. It was not investigated as anything suspicious.
I know my first words to him is, I don't even know how to start this conversation, and you may think I'm crazy, but I've got to tell you something.
She said there was a large insurance policy involved in Levi's death. She said there was a suspicious death 20 years ago in California involving Carl's first wife, and she had been hearing information from Cindy that led her to believe that there could be more to this, and she thought we should look into it. You have to take every call seriously, but I didn't really have any feeling that there was going to really be something out of this.
The next part was really getting a hold of Cindy. Cindy had moved out, but she was scared to death that she was next or their younger son, Alex, was next. So it was definitely a very stressful, rough time in her life.
At this stage, it's a cold case. We told Cindy straight out, I mean, we didn't lie to her. We told her, I don't know if this is going to go anywhere, because at this point, it's all circumstantial evidence.
Since law enforcement was having a hard time getting enough evidence, and I just had the idea that I'm going to get my own recorder. I'm going to start recording my conversations with Carl to try to gather more evidence.
She goes, well, if I meet with him, can I record him? I told her what the law was in New York State. If it's a conversation and you're both there, as long as you know it's being recorded, it's legal.
I don't think law enforcement really wanted me to do what I was doing, but as a mom, I had no choice. I started talking to Carl and telling him that I was considering getting back together with him, but that I couldn't consider getting back together with him until he confessed about everything he had done. He picked the place, which was a busy restaurant. I tucked my voice recorder in my bra. My main goal was to keep Alex and I alive.
But I can't get back with you without you telling me the complete truth. Even if you said yes or no to what I asked you, then I would know that you want to move forward.
I said to Carl that I don't think that you're telling me the whole truth. And, I would threaten to get up and leave.
But I can't get back with you without you telling me the complete truth. Could you? So sorry. I don't know if I got it. Well, thank you for coming and explaining.
Carl said, yes, I did it for you because I saw the opportunity and I took it. And I remember just feeling like I was in shock. It was very hard for me, to deal with. How can a human kill their own child?
We get the call. He just told me he killed Levi. And I said, did you record it? She said, yeah, bring it in. So, of course, we're excited about this.
I knew then that I had a confession, so relief. Finally, this was going to come to an end, this nightmare that I'd been living for the last few years.
So she brings in her recorder, and there's nothing on there that is usable.
This tape, it's not a clear tape. There's a lot of background noise. You can't really make out the words.
We tried sending it out to the state police crime lab to see if they could enhance it in any way. They said, what you hear is what you got. There's nothing we can do with it. We've reached a turning point in the investigation. Basically go on the offensive here. Are we going to make something happen? It's circumstantial at this point, but it was one of those things where I'm going to look into it because you never know. But I didn't have a feeling at that point whether there was really something here or not. What we ended up deciding to do was this operation at Abigail's restaurant. Cindy agreed to be wired with some professional equipment and try and recreate her conversation with Carl and get him to make some of the same admissions. So that happens on November 20th. At this point, we're committed. We can't just let it go at this point, because once he confides in her, he's going to expect her to come back. And when she doesn't come back, there's going to be a problem. Or he's going to get suspicious that she's working with the cops, and now she's going to be in danger.
You know, I looked at it as I had a job to do, you know, whatever it took.
We had a safety plan in effect. We had 4 undercover officers come in to protect Cindy.
While Carl and Cindy and the officers were in Abigail's, I was across the street in an unmarked police car with another investigator, and we were monitoring the situation.
Cindy's obviously our number one priority. We don't know if Carl's armed. Maybe he's so mad at Cindy he wants to do something right there. I'm just thinking, I hope this guy doesn't do anything stupid.
I don't have a whole lot of time today, so
Cindy was very nervous, but she also was very determined.
I'm wondering if we can finish our story the other day. Can you just tell me how things went that day so that I know in my head?
Yeah, I mean, I was scared, but I really didn't feel like I had a choice or any other options at that point. I was determined that I was going to get a confession.
I mean, you're sorry about it, right?
Every minute.
Okay, Carl, and I believe that. Can you just tell me what happened that day?
When I went in there, I jacked it up, then it slid.
It slid? That's not what you told me the other day. That's not what you told me, Carl. No, it isn't.
What did I say?
I asked you if you pushed the truck, and you said yes.
I didn't push the truck. I said I had nothing to do, but I said I took advantage of the situation once it happened.
The first time I asked him, you know, he said he had pushed the truck on Levi. So now he changed it to he didn't push the truck, but it had fallen, and somehow he saw an opportunity after it happened.
He makes the remark that he took advantage of the opportunity. No parent is going to refer to the death of their child as an opportunity. Most parents, the idea of any harm coming to their child is totally abhorrent. And that was when I felt that I was 100% sure on what kind of person he was.
It was never planned from day one for this to ever go that way.
What do you mean from day one?
You know, from the time we did the insurance stuff. I mean, don't ever think back.
You gotta understand, I can't go back with you. And you got discrepancies in your stories. I know you're not telling me the whole truth. I know you're not.
At that point, we don't have a full-blown confession, and we have still largely a circumstantial case. So we're unable to make an arrest. But after hearing what he said in Abigail, now we got to bring him in.
I took advantage of the situation once it happened.
But it's going to come down to an interview. We need a confession because Cindy, now she's going to be in danger.
I felt Carl would probably kill me if he, you know, found out what was going on.
This isn't a trap.
A trap? Like what kind of trap?
Can you understand where I'm coming from?
Well, I can understand, yes, where you would be scared. But you're going to have to trust me, Carl.
She's scared of Carl. He had 1.2 million reasons to kill Cindy. 700,000, I guess, wasn't enough.
At that point, we know the interview is going to happen. It's got to happen fairly soon. So we approach Carl, and we tell him we'd like to talk to him. He says, yeah, I know what you want to talk about. You want to talk about my dead wife and my dead son. We said, as a matter of fact, we do. And we asked him if he'll ride with us back to the office. He agreed very cheerfully to come ride with us to the office.
Go ahead, MC.
When Carl's brought into the station, we do not have enough to arrest him. Tom Crowley and John Clear, I think we all felt had the best mannerisms, best demeanor that fit with Carl.
You confessed to your wife. I like my wife. What do you guys ever, I'm just here, you have her wired? And be honest with me. Yes, we do. I thought you did. It's all recorded.
You know, if they brought him in for questioning and had to let him go, then I knew that Alex and I would definitely have to go into hiding somewhere.
There's no way I could kill
the son. There's no way.
What we know is that in 2008, Carl's the last person to see Levi alive, and that Christina Carlson, Carl's first wife, died in a tragic, very unusual fire death on January 1st, 1991. Do we know for a fact that Carl did it? No. But it's important that we find out the details and get Carl to tell us the truth.
Okay, you guys don't know what happened that day.
Tell us about it.
The day that my son died.
When you're in the interview room, you want to walk through the whole thing with him. You're also looking for consistency. You're looking for any detail that might be out of whack with what you already know.
I went out in the garage, and because we were surprised he was still there, and found him.
What do you mean you found him?
I found him dead.
Okay.
The truck was on him.
At that point in the investigation, he had already confessed to Cindy. We felt like it would be a very difficult thing for him to do, to deny it to us.
What we're saying is, and what we know to be true, is you pushed that car over.
I did not.
Well, the only thing that remains to be found out is what the reasons were.
No,
here's the thing. You confessed to your wife.
You don't kill your son. You don't kill anybody for money.
Listen, who said anything about money? What are you talking about?
Carl mentions that you don't kill your son for money. We had not brought up money. He just provided to us what we believe to be the motivation for this crime.
I think we should talk about the insurance. I think we're at that point. We have to address that. Whose idea, and be careful here, whose idea was it for him to be insured?
His.
It was his idea to be insured?
Yes, me.
The first payment, to get the insurance into effect, who paid it?
I paid Danny. I told him I'd pay the first one, then the rest is up to you.
And Cindy know that you...
No.
And were you the beneficiary of this policy?
Yes.
Okay. And what was the policy for? What was the amount?
It was $700, but he had...
$700,000.
Right.
When we're exploring the possibility of him killing someone for insurance money, we have to show that he's the one that took out the policy. So even though we know he did that on paper, we want him to admit that.
Did he insure himself so that you would benefit? Was his plan for you to have close to $750,000?
It was for me, it was for us he wanted, and for me to take care of his girls when they got to college.
And have you done that?
They're not college age yet. I spent money on the funeral, and we buried him not only in New York, his mother's buried in California. So we actually buried part of the ashes out there.
Oh, you were living out in California?
Yeah, I lived out in a little town called Murphy's, California.
One of the goals that when we went into this interview with Carl was, as important his investigation was to the death of Levi, his son, it was every bit as important to me and the other investigators, the death of his wife in California. It was our obligation to find out the details.
Why did you leave Murphy's? Was it just because of the weather and the...
Well, my wife had passed away, and...
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. What was she ill?
No, she died in a house fire.
His wife prior, Christina, had died in a fire in Cavaleras County in California. We had contacted them and we obtained copies of the report from the fire. Now, I am not a fire investigator, but I just couldn't believe the things that they never looked into. Here's an example. The report had mentioned that a kerosene had spilled and maybe a heat lamp had fallen on the kerosene and ignited and fully engulfed this house.
Well, kerosene it actually burns. It's very stubborn. It doesn't burn very easily. Right away, there's some red flags, and we might want to look into it further.
Here's the bathroom where Christina was found.
I guess the bathroom door is here, and kerosene got spilled here. That's where they presume it started.
I want a picture of this window. Why he didn't knock this out? He should have knocked that out. There's no way she could have pulled it off.
Yeah, not from the inside.
Yeah, there's no reason he couldn't have got to that bathroom. No reason.
There's way too many things that point to Carl Carlson, not involved in the murder of just his son, but the murder of his wife in 1991.
Was it like an old window? Or
the window was like that big and it was boarded up.
You should have sued their asses off.
Oh, and I had.
Wait, did you board it up?
What's that?
Did you board it
Yeah,
up?
we had to because it was no good. But you couldn't fit out of it. You couldn't put, you might be able to put a baby out of it. A baby. You and I, or a 80-pound woman.
Carl put a piece of plywood over that window. But did he use 1 nail, 2 nails, 4 nails to put up? No. He used 17 nails to hold that plywood sheet on. So in that bathroom is his wife trapped. The window's plywood is shut, the door's blocked, and a fire just happens to start right in the hallway, right in front of the bathroom door.
There's no way. You could.
Why'd you board it up?
Because it was all broken. Everything was shot. Oh, yeah.
You have these different tragedies that occur around Carl, but they're in different parts of the country. And it's not until you step back, you can see looking at it that it all makes sense that he has a role in this. But if you look at them individually, it did not.
So you lost your son
And my wife.
and your wife.
You know, and the thing is like.
Well, I gotta ask, just because now that's brought up.
That's fine.
What? How much was the insurance on your wife?
200 on her.
200,000. Was she working at the time?
No, she never worked.
When did you
Screwed
move?
up. Week and a half after she died.
It was time to start elevating our game and confronting him, taking away his personal space, and putting some pressure on him.
There's no reason he couldn't have got to that bathroom.
There's not many people that want to believe that a human being who came from a good family can sit there and murder their wife in such a cold way and then murder their son simply for money.
Now, at this point, it's all circumstantial evidence, but it's a lot of stuff to happen for someone. I mean, I started thinking, this person's like really unlucky, or there's something going on here. There seems to be a pattern.
I didn't expect that Carl was going to confess to a murder of 20 plus years ago in a state 3,000 miles away. But what I did think, and I was confident of, is that there's no way Carl could keep track of the lies he told about the 2008 death of Levi. It was time to start elevating our game and confronting him, taking away his personal space, and putting some pressure on him.
You know, we've been working on this for quite a while, basically the better part of a year. We know a lot of what happened, but only you, Carl, knows what's in your head.
Oh, I know. I know what's in my head and in my heart.
Don't lie to us.
Well,
You've been lying. We know that you were.
believing me.
We knew that you were in the Air Force.
Yeah.
And we know that you
What
were.
does that have to do with it?
Because I respect you for that.
You want to make that, to build that rapport, is make some type of physical, non-threatening physical contact, a hand on the knee or on the shoulder, to give the impression that you're sympathetic to them.
What did you mean when you told Cindy that one of the reasons that you took the opportunity to do it was because he was a bird? What did you mean by that?
You are not 5 years old. You cannot get caught with your hand in a cookie jar.
Yeah, but
tell the truth, and you can't do
Look
that.
at the doctor.
You can't do that.
Well, then you know what? I want a lawyer or something, I guess, because I don't understand what you guys aren't listening to me.
If you want a lawyer, we're done. Case law on Miranda is pretty definitive. It says there has to be a clear declaration for an attorney. So I wanted to explore that further with Carl before we gave up the interview to see what he really wanted to do, but we knew his weakness. He wants to keep talking, even at the risk of incriminating himself. That's a pretty strong need.
If you want it, we want to make
We'll keep
sure.
talking. Okay.
So you do not want a lawyer right now?
Not right at this minute, no.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Do you know how accurate they can do the cause of death based on body temperature,
I know.
atmospheric temperature? They can put it within a 15-minute window. I mean, it's not as precise as we would like it to be, but basically, or specifically, it was before he left. He died. And it wasn't because of anything other than a crushing chest wound.
Telling Carl that we could prove something based on scientific evidence, it's a calculated risk. If for some reason he knows that that's not necessarily true, it could embolden him and say, you know what, they're grasping now. They're telling me things that are not true.
We can prove right now that it was you that forced that Carl.
You're allowed to use a certain amount of deception, but it's got to be something that wouldn't shock the conscience, is the way the case law reads. So when Tom uses the deception about the police science, he fell for it.
He was dead when I went in there.
Okay. Tell us about that.
Carl actually thought that we knew what time that Levi died.
At that point, he's admitting he lied about what happened. and he's telling a story that makes no sense at all.
Let's talk about what happened.
I walked in there to, give him his money, and holy fuck. And I just blanked.
Now he's making a mission to us that he knew that Levi was dead before he left for the funeral.
And we knew that he was going in the direction of telling the complete truth.
Why'd you keep it a secret for so long?
I'm thinking that I need to give him a lot of sympathy and a lot of attention. That was a technique I was taught when I was learning how to interview hard suspects, to give the impression that you're sympathetic to them and understand why they did what they did.
There's no fucking way.
John was tremendous. John Clear built a great relationship with Carl to the point that John's rubbing Carl's back and Carl's accepting it, and he likes that John's almost feeling sorry for him.
It was an accident, and I blame myself every day, just like you said.
It enabled Carl to build, again, that false friendship with John Clear.
About 6 hours in the interview, Carl's made some major admissions. Now Jeff's going to come in and be more confrontational.
Hey.
It's a long interview, and you just keep trying different tactics.
Can you sit for a couple minutes so I can just talk to you?
There's a lot hanging on this interview because we have still largely a circumstantial case. The end goal is to get some type of admission or confession.
I always go in there with the confidence that I'm going to get the truth. And if the truth is that he did the crime, that I'm going to get the confession. I've never in my life gone to an interview and thinking that I wasn't going to get the truth.
So Levi, just total coincidence, takes out a $700,000 life insurance policy in name for his father that he doesn't get along with. It's his sole beneficiary. And you happen to pay the policy.
I want to take away his personal space and putting some pressure on him. I want him to look me in the eyes when he's lying to me and when he's denying about how he murdered his son.
He comes over to your house with his $700,000 life insurance policy. He gets under this truck that your son, the one you're supposed to love and care for, this is your blood, your flesh and blood. Miraculously, the truck falls over on him while you're there, and you say...
I wasn't in there when it happened.
Well, you might say that, but we both know you were in there.
Carl's like everybody. He's a look down, look away type of guy. He's lying. He's the guy that you can see his emotions change. You can see his body language change.
So he needed help, and you're his biological father, and you don't give him help? What kind of father are you?
Piece of shit.
Yeah, exactly. You don't give him help. You let him be crushed under there. You go back and go, okay, honey, let's go to your uncle's funeral.
I freaked. I panicked. I don't know. A million thoughts went through my head.
Jeff definitely took a more adversarial role with him, but that was to allow me to be more supportive. A version of good cop, bad cop.
Doesn't matter to me, Carl. I get paid by the hour. But if you want to help yourself, you ought to explain why you pushed that truck. It was a split-second decision. It had nothing to do with the insurance money. Okay. We can deal with that.
There's nothing that can justify killing your wife, your kids, your uncles, your parents, it'd be different if you killed the...
I didn't say you killed your wife.
No, I know, but I'm just saying, that's why I'm saying wife, kids, whatever.
Carl, did you?
No, I already been through that. No, hell no, and no way in hell. And if I had anything to do, I would get rid of my wife now and have my first wife.
When you get to the point where a person's finally starting to make admissions, you're thinking, I'm at a delicate point here. I got to be really careful on how I phrase stuff.
Never heard him?
You did.
He seems to like that I'm listening, that I'm actually on his side.
You're this close, man. You're the closest you're going to be.
It was an accident. I opened the truck door.
Okay.
When they did it, fucking...
Do I think he accidentally caused it to fall? No. I mean, that's the way he chose to explain it. I think that way he saved some face.
Little revelation.
Talk to me.
Once he admitted that he lied about how it happened, I mean, the only reason to lie about how it happened was to cover up what really happened.
When I went in the garage, I didn't find Levi dead. I went in the garage and he was cussing and swearing up a storm that he couldn't get the hydraulic hose out and stuff like that. So I opened up the truck door, stepped in, laid over the seat to move the linkages and all that, and it tipped.
Pushed right over on.
It just fell.
Fell on. Crushed.
Carl Carlson is one of the few true sociopaths I've ever met. Arrogant, a man who likes to boast. He's a man who thinks he's smart. I think somebody like Carl is one of the most notorious murderers that I've ever dealt with.
So then what did you do? You walked away, you didn't run for help? You didn't think 911 could help? You think Jack could back up?
I knew the truck was completely on him, the jack was fucking fall over, I just knew that in my head that all I could do was run.
But did you know he died of suffocation because his lung was collapsed? And if the truck was lifted off him, he would have been able to breathe.
I don't know what I was thinking.
So the truck fell on your son, and instead of jacking it back up, you ran.
I was scared as shit. I don't know why.
It literally sends chills up you when you listen to Carl admitting what he did. There's no remorse.
Do you think that I believe that?
I don't care what anybody believes.
You're a money-driven individual, Carl, period.
Yeah.
$700,000 is what you had gained from his death. $200,000 is what you had gained from your wife's death in California.
Whoopee.
Under New York state laws, if you take an action that causes someone like that to die and you don't do anything to stop it, that's depraved indifference. That's murder second degree.
Of all these alleged coincidences, they have to be fully insured, each one of them, to the max.
Because, it's not to the, I don't know what you call the max.
Well, I have no insurance on my kids.
I'm looking at this monster in the eyes, and it's impossible not to become frustrated and deep down inside angry with the type of person that Carl is. In many ways, people look at him and say he's a goof, he's an idiot. But the thing that Carl really is, he's a murderer, he's a monster.
Well, come with me, you're under arrest. I think you knew that was coming. Do you have any weapons on you, Carl? Any knives, anything like that?
He didn't even disagree. Didn't seem to be really that upset. He actually shook my hand, told me I did a good job.
It's okay, I can give it to you. Thank you.
Bringing you up to speed now on a crime we first told you about back in 2008. A man in Seneca County is now facing charges he murdered his own son.
I said 67 times, I'm innocent. It took him 9.5 hours for me to put my foot in my mouth.
4 years after his son was killed, he's been indicted in his death.
Carl took the plea deal. He allocuted in county court. An allocution is basically your confession with the judge of what you did.
Levi's children helped their mother compose a victim's impact statement for sentencing, which said it better than I can say it. When Carl took Levi's life, he didn't just take away from Levi, he took away from his children.
I'm heartbroken that they have to grow up without their dad.
This afternoon, a Seneca County man was sentenced to 15 years to life for killing his son. He's also the chief suspect in the death of his first wife in California back in 1991.
If things didn't play out the way they did, I do believe that Carl would have definitely have harmed or killed somebody else again.
I would have been next on Carl's list, you know.
Today, would I ever take life insurance out on anything? Never. You couldn't pay me enough. You couldn't pay me. I'm not upset with my family for staying the heck away from me. Not a bit. I'm upset with the lawyer. I'm upset with the prosecutor. I'm upset with the system. Do you know why Lady Justice has a blindfold on? Do you know the true reason? She's embarrassed. Lady Justice is embarrassed that this stuff goes on. And you may think I'm talking out my head, but think about it. And tell me, am I wrong?
Carl took his plea. He was sentenced. He appealed, he lost his appeal. They unanimously upheld his conviction.
Carl Carlson had what most people would kill to have: a wonderful wife, a wonderful family, but it wasn't enough for Carl. Carl wanted to take the shortcut. He didn't want to work for a living. He didn't want to work hard. Life wasn't a marathon. He wanted quick, immediate gratification, and he wanted quick money.
And I'm pretty proud of the fact, that I was able to help get him behind bars. I still dream about Levi, and, I think he's in heaven and with his mom, and I think he's looking down on me and Alex, and I think he's proud. I really feel that he's proud.
Not many investigators can say that they worked a serial homicide.
Never dreamed of what I was going to see when I walked into the residence.
It was just a violent death.
Who could have wanted my mother dead? My mother had the biggest heart of gold.
Everybody's watching this. Everybody's concerned. There was a lot of fear.
This person is still out there. This person could still commit more murders.
It was clear that we had a multi-parish serial killer.
We immediately began making plans to go to Texas to conduct the interview. This was either going to result in a confession or a dead end.
Well, this part of Louisiana, the Mississippi River, divides several parishes, and they classify the river parishes as pretty much anything from Ascension Parish on down to St. John, St. Charles area as you work down your way towards New Orleans. You have a lot of large families that live here and been living here a very, very long time, and it was just a safe feeling community up until a certain point.
In the Victor Rossi case, his daughter tragically found him, discovered him in his home.
When the investigators arrived at Victor's residence, Victor was found laying on his couch. It appeared that he had been sleeping, and he was brutally beaten to death. And as they processed the residence, they found the murder weapon. It was a baseball bat. Victor Rossi was a small business owner. He owned a mechanic shop. He wasn't a wealthy man, but he lived a good life.
We had a minimal suspects, or even a list of suspects, given the fact that he was a very well-liked guy, had a normal lifestyle. It was a whodunit. It evolved into connecting to something far bigger and far worse.
March 19th, 1997, I received a phone call about 7:45 a.m. from Sheriff Martin, who was asking me to meet him at the residence of Miss Barbara Bourgeois. And he wanted me to meet him there because he had a concerned relative who had not seen her yet that morning.
We went around the house knocking on the windows, trying to peep in the windows, and the doors were all locked. Sid and I both, we forced the storm door open.
Never dreamed of what I was going to see when I walked into the residence. It was kind of hard to see at first, and the sheriff turned on a light in the kitchen, and the light from the kitchen kind of illuminated a little bit into the living room, and I could see the bottom half of Miss Barbara Bourgeois lying on the floor.
We saw the knife immediately.
There'll be blood right here.
There was a vacuum cleaner right next to her body also that was covered with blood. Obviously was used as a weapon, and you can see just from the extent of her injuries that she probably took a severe beating with that vacuum cleaner and then was stabbed multiple times. It was just a violent death.
My mother was one of these people that she was always so willing to give. She gave so much to her family, her husband, and to her children, of course. The love. There's no greater love than a mother. My mother was a special education teacher. She worked with the needy children. She didn't want anybody to be without. Who could have wanted my mother dead? My mother had the biggest heart of gold.
I knew Miss Barbara, and I knew her husband, and I knew the family, and I knew that we had quite a task on our hand. We had a horrible crime scene, and it was apparent to us she fought for her life. It was an awful sight. We knew we had a terrible crime. I'm sorry.
April 10th of 1997, Miss Lillian Philippi was found in her home, bludgeoned, dead, an elderly lady.
The phone wires were cut. Again, the weapons was a weapon of opportunity. There were weapons used on her was a trophy that was taken from one of the bedrooms and was used to beat her to death. Someone went in there, attacked Miss Philippi in her bedroom, went through her safe, went through her purse, and then left.
Some of us started saying, you know what? You know, this is not something that happens on a regular basis in this parish. We started seeing then and started exploring the possibility informally that maybe we've got something going on in a multi-jurisdictional way.
There was a lot of pressure, not just on the Gonzales Police Department, but in this River Parish region.
When word gets out we got another murder, I mean, people just, they're in fear now. They don't even want to be out during the daytime.
On May 9th, 1997, I was at the Detective Bureau, and a call came out for assistance at the Akuri house. And upon officers' arrival, they discovered a pretty gruesome scene.
This is a murder weapon.
We believe the weapon that was used was called a switchblade or cane knife. Blood everywhere. It was probably one of the worst scenes that I had been on in my career.
We spent probably 3 days just on the crime scene. We were constantly fingerprinting anything in the house. We were under a tremendous amount of pressure to try to solve it. About 5 days after the Akuri murders occurred, one of the detectives came in and said, "You're not gonna believe this. They're calling for a detective on Somerset, Miss Brock. She had been drug out the house and that her head was practically decapitated on her body."
When we got to the scene of the Brock case, phone lines were cut, which was similar to the Akuris. It appeared a sharp instrument, knife, weapon was used in the case, which was similar to the Akuris. A safe and her car were missing.
Then it got down to, okay, we gotta find somebody. We got a bad guy around here.
Criminals have no jurisdictions. They cross parish lines, county lines. So we called Ascension Parish. They also had an unsolved murder. 2, actually. Victor Rossi and Miss Philippi. The focus appeared to be burglary. Victims were brutally attacked. When we called St. James Parish to see if they had any unsolved homicides, they did have one, Miss Barbara Bourgeois. It was burglary. Entry was made through a window. She was brutally attacked. She was elderly. But when you reach out to a counterpart and say, hey, you have anything going on? You have any unsolved homicides? And when they say yeah, it makes you stop and realize that you have something bigger in your hands than what you thought you had. We suspect that they're related. There's similarities. When's he gonna strike again? If we don't act fast enough, will somebody else die?
We had so many cases, and we had 2 in St. John, 1 in St. James, 3 in Ascension Parish.
Because we have all the similarities in all the other crimes that are coming together, that it looks like it's going to be some type of serial event. Where you had someone preying on elderly people, you had the same type of MO, weapons of opportunity, you had phone wires cut. There are people that shouldn't have to worry about going to sleep at nighttime and never waking up because someone brutally attacked and murdered them while they were sleeping in their beds.
You don't know when the next person's going to be attacked, killed. Road officers are talking to their informants. Detectives are talking to their sources, running down leads, trying to find anybody they can, trying to find any evidence they can. It's a tremendous amount of stress.
On July 7th, 1997, I was called to investigate a crime that occurred at the Miette residence. I responded to the residence and learned that the Miettes were attacked while they were sleeping in their residence. The perpetrator forced them to open up a safe. A large amount of cash was taken. The perpetrator then shot Mr. Miette in the face. And then at that point in time, the perpetrator goes through the dining room area and shoots Miss Miette. What he didn't know is both victims were still alive.
And now we have 2 witnesses who can describe their attempted murderer.
So once their conditions were stable, I went to the hospital where they were at, and I brought a sketch artist there as well, and we were able to put together a composite. We released that composite sketch out to the media. We started generating phone tips from the community, and nothing led us to anybody that committed this crime.
We had no DNA. We had no fingerprints. We had no physical evidence.
When we started hitting roadblocks and walls, frankly, we brought in the FBI.
Ascension Detective Lieutenant Benny DeLone and his partner are bringing their attempted murder investigation all the way to Quantico, Virginia, and FBI headquarters. They'll bring every piece of evidence gathered in the investigations, and hopefully they'll come home with a better understanding of who committed these crimes, enough so they can make an arrest.
The Behavioral Analysis Unit is a specialized unit within the FBI of highly trained people that study psychology and then will provide what they believe is the best description of the subject based on the information provided. The profile hit on a number of points, including that he would have all of a sudden money that he didn't have before and that he just couldn't explain. He was most likely from or very familiar with the areas of each crime scene, and that after the victim survived, that he would have left town with some plausible reason. I think everybody really truly believed, even though it was suspected before, that these cases were related and that you had a serial killer on your hands.
You're responsible for bringing a sense of security and comfort to the community, letting them know that they're safe. And it's hard to do when you have elderly people that have been brutally attacked and murdered. Everybody is scared. Alarm sales are going through the roof.
So now that you know that you've got a serial killer on your hand, then you got to be thinking of when he's going to do this again.
And so at that point, we called a press conference. And we released the information from the FBI profile. Well, we decided to take the several 100,000 people in the river parishes and make them investigators as well. And we got an overwhelming response from the public. I think it's him. He looks like so-and-so. He looks like so. So we're chasing all of those down.
One of these tips was from an individual who worked at a casino within our jurisdiction, who he thought of an individual who frequented this casino where he worked at, who used to go to the casino and spend very little bit of money.
And then all of a sudden, he began coming and he was spending large amounts of money. He started wearing jewelry, and he had recently rode up on a new motorcycle. During his description, he said he used to drive up in a pickup truck with some type of boom in the rear of the bed to lift motors and such as that. And at that point, I knew the truck, or a truck that fit that description, that belonged to Daniel Blank, as he was a mechanic, and he used to work for a friend of mine, Victor Rossi.
So we started doing a financial background check on him as well, and learning that his source of income is far, far less than what he was actually spending at these casinos. Once we developed Daniel Blank as a suspect, we went to his last known address. And when we went to that address, he moved. And we learned from a family member of his that he had just moved. And he had just moved right after the Miette case. When we left that residence, we went back to my office. And no sooner than walk into my office, I'm receiving a phone call from Daniel Blank asking why are we needing to talk to him.
Hello? This is Daniel Blank calling. Yes. Somebody just told me that the detectives were looking for me. Yeah, that's me. I'm Sergeant Tony with the Sheriff's Office. We work in cases over here, and your name came up in it. Okay. There's some elderly people that's been murdered, and one of these people you used to work for, Mr. Brock. I worked for him many years ago. Well, his wife was murdered, and she's one of these elderly people, too. Yeah. Wait, you living in, on Alaska now? I live in Texas, yeah. What kind of work you doing now, Daniel? Mechanic work. Oh, mechanic work? Yeah. You come into any money lately? Yeah, I want some money at the casino. How much money you want? It's close to $50,000, I guess. $50,000? You gonna be back in Louisiana anytime soon? Well, I was supposed to try to go down there this weekend. This weekend? Let me give you my name, and when you get in town, I'll give you my page number and you call me. All right, then.
He made arrangements to meet with us, and that date came and went.
And he didn't show. The investigation now goes to another level.
We started doing a background check on him.
We were able to connect him to every individual, every homicide that had occurred. He had worked for 2 victims. He had worked for Victor Rossi. He had worked for Mrs. Brock's husband. He lived near Miss Bourgeois. He used to buy auto parts for Miss Philippe's husband.
Daniel had a girlfriend at the time who worked at a local restaurant, which was directly across the street from the Akiri residence. Money is really the motive to these murders. And once we connected all the dots, and that all the dots were linking up to Daniel Blank, this could be our guy. We formulated a plan, and we went to him in Texas, where he was living at. With the help of the Texas authorities, we secured part of the Onalaska courthouse, and we used that for interview rooms.
You doing, Daniel? All right. Want to see right here for you? Right here, Daniel.
I didn't know Mike before this investigation. He didn't know my abilities. I didn't know his abilities. And you're placing your trust in each other's hands.
Todd, email. How you doing? Nice to meet you. And I spoke to you a couple times on the phone. My name's Mike Tony, the Sheriff's Office in Ascension. He's with the St. John Sheriff's Office.
We needed to be prepared. We had nothing. And lack of physical evidence. Sometimes interview or interrogation is the only evidence that you'll get.
I want to talk to you, Daniel, concerning some stuff.
This was either going to result in a confession or a dead end.
We got elderly people, we got business people, we got weapons of opportunity, we got phone wires being cut. Money is really the motive to these murders. And once we connected all the dots and that all the dots were linking up to Daniel Blank, this could be our guy. We formulated a plan and we went to him in Texas where he was living at.
We wanted to cover as many homicides as possible. I was involved in the Curie and the Brock case. Mike was involved in Victor Rossi and Miss Philippi. And St. James Parish wasn't able to go. I knew some about their case. I talked to their investigator. So we felt it was important to have two investigators in the room that would know details of all the cases.
How you doing, Daniel? All right. Want to see right here for us? See right here, Daniel.
We had him sit at the end of the table. Mike and I each sat on opposite sides, facing him. You don't want a barrier between the suspect and the interviewer. You want to have that open environment. It allows you to move in, get intimate.
Oh, you want me to answer questions? Yeah, I'll answer anything you want me to answer. Okay. I ain't got nothing to hide.
At any given point in time, he can say, no, I don't want to continue anymore. He can ask for his lawyer, or he can just get up and walk out.
Let's just start with some background information.
When we were coming up with a strategy to approach the interview, I felt that I wanted to take the lead. We wanted to start to build rapport. We talked about how he grew up, where he grew up, his family.
My mom passed away. What was her name? Alice. When did she die? It's a little over 3 years ago, I think it was, somewhere around there.
He appeared to be a blue-collar guy. You know, he was a mechanic. He's been a mechanic most of his life. Didn't appear nervous.
That's my first time meeting us. That's why I'm asking a lot of questions, just to get to know you. Tell me about your past employers. Where you used to work at, what kind of places. Was it always in the mechanic field? Was it other places that you worked at?
My first job in a shop was for Ralph Saint-Pierre. Then I went and worked for Doug's Auto Repair. And that's when I went and worked for Robert DeBlessings. See, I worked for Robert full-time, and then I worked with Victor Rossi part-time.
In asking a suspect questions, you want to know the answers to those questions before you ask them.
So we knew that he actually worked for several of our victims. He worked for Victor Rossi. He worked for Joan Brock's husband.
Knowing what he makes approximately a year, what he was buying would give us an indication of how much money he had available.
You got a pretty good deal where you're living at now? That's Yukon Cove area?
Yeah.
That's a nice neighborhood?
Yeah, I got that for $20,000.
You had a finance or a bank locally?
No, I bought it.
You bought it?
I bought it.
You paid cash for it?
Yeah.
Okay. Did you make any other purchases while you were down here? Any other things that you bought while you're in the Alaska area?
He spent $20,000 on his home. He bought a pool for $4,000, dining room set for $900, a Ford Escort for I think $7,000, $9,000, something like that. Maybe he had $1,000 in his checking account. This is someone who's a blue-collar mechanic making $35,000, $40,000 a year.
Where is he getting this cash?
Well, first off, I started off playing the poker machines. It went from $2,000 to $3,000 a week on a poker machine.
You mean you were spending $2,000 to $3,000?
No, I was winning.
You were winning $2,000 to $3,000?
$2,000 a week.
Okay.
Just on a poker machine.
He insisted that every time he went to the casino, he won. And we knew that wasn't the case. He was lying. Looking at the transactions from the casino, he was about $50,000 in the hole. He put in about $250,000. He got back around $200,000.
I think you're aware, or you should be aware, of why Mike and I are here today. Is that not correct?
No.
Our victims were not just victims of a murder, but they were also victims of a robbery because large amounts of money that was taken from their residence. So it made him even a stronger suspect.
Do you have an idea why we're here? Do you think we traveled this distance to speak to you about casino winnings? Do you think legitimately that's why we're here?
Well, basically, you want to know where I got all my money from.
In moving from an interview to an interrogation, you need to be calculated. You're asking pointed questions. You need to be prepared.
And some people were hurt and some people were killed. Okay? We want to talk to you about those incidents.
I heard the wife got killed.
Miss Joni, you knew Miss Joni, been to the house before. What type of relationship did y'all have?
Oh, she was a real sweet woman. I really don't know what to say about, what's going on or what happened or what the deal is.
Do you know there's more than one person or two people that was murdered besides Joan and Rossi?
Hold up, yeah. You don't think I got any damn thing to do with all this bullshit y'all talking about?
Do you?
No, I don't.
We got him just to that point where he began to offer some resistance. You can't push him too much, He started backing off and getting defensive.
You just said you didn't do it?
No, I didn't.
You have no
I have no idea what happened, what's going on.
We knew that we could offer a polygraph, and we had contacted a polygraphist with the FBI in Texas, had him and his equipment in the next room.
And the only way for me to really realize or understand that you're telling me the truth, would you take a polygraph today?
Yeah.
You have no problem with that?
No problem.
Would you pass?
Oh, well, I got nothing to hide. What was I'm telling the truth in the polygraph test shows I'm lying.
It won't happen. Look at it. Did you kill any of these people?
No.
All right. Do you have anything to hide?
No.
Okay. Then you don't have to worry about it. Don't have anything to worry about that. Okay? Hang tight. We'll take a leak. All right?
We wanted to make sure, because he's saying, hey, I didn't do these. Was he being truthful about it? And he consented to it, so we use that tool as to see if he was being truthful. Just because you have a good suspect, that don't always mean that this suspect is going to be the person that's committing these crimes.
How you doing?
If we didn't have the polygraphist in the next room, we would have been at a dead end. There's nothing more we could have done.
Test is about to begin.
Once Daniel began offering some resistance, saying, whoa, 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 I don't have anything to do with this, we offered him a polygraph.
Would you take a polygraph test today?
Yeah.
You have no problem with that?
No
problem. Once Daniel agreed to take a polygraph, we're 5-6 hours into this.
How you doing?
There's certain physiological responses that occur when someone lies. Your heart rate will increase, your breathing patterns are going to change, perspiration. These are signs that will show up on a polygraph.
Test is about to begin.
The polygraph is conducted 3 times. He failed every one.
A polygraph is a tool that you can use. Is it admissible in court? No. No, my gut feeling is saying this is our guy because of the similarities in the crimes, his association with the victims, and then learning his spending habits, and then learning that he moved right after the Miette case.
Well, a person like yourself would get involved in something like this, but you have. Okay? There's no 2 ifs, ands, buts. chances or whatever about it, okay? Now is the time for you to decide where you're going to go with this.
The stakes are high. We had no DNA, we had no fingerprints, we had no physical evidence linking him to the crimes. We knew we needed a confession.
So we went in there to confront him and to obtain a confession because he's our prime suspect.
When we walked in the room after David was finished, we knew this was it. That it was now or never. You're standing in front of a person that you are fairly confident is responsible, but you know you need to be friends with him to garner his cooperation and hopefully get a confession.
I know your mother died Christmas time. That was about 2 years ago.
I began talking to Daniel about his mom.
I don't know how I would react if my mama died. You know, I know she don't talk. Daniel, listen to me. Okay, listen to me. It's all right. I know she was close to you. Okay. Still, I know she was close to you. I know it hurt.
Daniel responded to being talked to in a certain way, and that's all Todd did. He played off on what Daniel was giving back, and when he seen that his emotions changed when he brought up his mother, we played off of that.
I want you to close your eyes for me. Close your eyes for me. Keep them closed. Your mama was a big part of your life before she died. Am I not correct? You were very close to her. She meant a lot to you. She took care of you and your brothers and sisters. And a mother loves her son no matter what. You know that. But if you're responsible, no, we know you're responsible. She raised you better. She raised you to take responsibility for your actions.
Everybody loves their mom. You always want to do the right thing by your mom. And I use that to the advantage of the investigation.
She raised you to do the right thing. She raised all your brothers and sisters that way. She instilled that in each one of her children.
You show them that they're only human, that people have a right to mess up. If you find out their weakness and you break it on them, they're going to break down to you.
You're trying to provide for your family. You're trying to get your kids better clothes, more clothes than what you had. You're trying to get them those things that you didn't have growing up because you had so many brothers and sisters, and you can only stretch a dollar so far. Did you mean for it to happen? No, you didn't. Am I correct? Yes, I'm correct.
He, of course, became emotional. Seeing his head lower, seeing him shed tears.
And I'll tell you exactly what you're thinking at this point. You feel at this point you've been in denial since you walked into the room. And you don't know how to begin talking to us. You don't know what to say. You don't know how to say it. But you want to, because that cancer is eating you up. You can't breathe at night. You can't breathe like you're supposed to because that weight is on your chest.
We have a suspect. We have a very good suspect. This could be it. It could put closure to some of these families if this person did commit these crimes.
Talk to me. Tell me that. It's all right. It's all right. Take a deep breath. Take a deep breath.
During the time that Daniel was being interviewed, Daniel remained calm the whole time. On one time that he got emotional was when some information about his mother's passing came up.
It's all right. It's all right.
When people hold something in, when they suppress feelings or have guilt, they're going to experience some type of physiological change in their body.
We need to let people know that your mama died. Your head was messed up since that point, and you're trying to provide for your kids better than what your mom provided for you, because you want a little bit better for them.
As Todd leans over and puts his arm around him and tell him that, hey, do the right thing here, Daniel responded to that.
You've been saying you have chest pains. That means something's wrong. Something's wrong within your body.
I want to give the suspect an out. I want to give him justification, if you will, for his actions.
You know what it is? It's a cry for help. You can't talk to your mama no more. You can't see her anymore. And it fucking kills you. It tears you up, and I know that.
If he could justify in his mind that all he needed to do was ask for forgiveness, whether it be from God, his mom, or anybody else, we'd be that much closer to obtaining a confession.
Man, you need to get this off your chest. You need to. It's gonna kill you. Yeah.
Danny had a tremendous amount of pressure on his body. He knew eventually he was going to get caught. He just didn't know when and where. He didn't realize that it was going to be this particular day we were there, that his whole life was flashing in front of him.
The power of physical touch, showing empathy. There's something that happens when you comfort someone and offer that pat on the shoulder.
You ain't got big bad thoughts about you. That's not why we're here. You need our help.
It may repulse you, it may make you ill, but you have to put those feelings aside and remember why you're there and continue to do what you're doing to obtain that confession.
Like this, so I know, man. I'm not supposed to be tearing you up.
Now you got to remember now, at any time, this guy can invoke his fifth and not want to say anymore. At any time, he can shut down and it's game's over. We know this.
I offered him the opportunity to say whether or not he intended to kill Miss Joan Brock. We thought that that would be the best case to use based on his relationship with the Brocks. He had been invited into their home. We felt that there was a psychological advantage to use that case.
You didn't even kill Miss Brock, ever? That's all right, man. That's all right. Let it out. Let it out.
Once he said no, he just admitted to killing Miss Joan.
I'm not going to go halfway with you. You need to go all the way, okay? Because we need to get everything off your chest.
Once he started confessing, I think he wanted to. But you don't want to stop there. You don't want to take a break. You don't want to quit now because you want to roll. You got 6 more to do. So you want to hit him on the next one.
You can talk about me as too, okay? Did you mean to hurt him? Tell me what happened. So,
He just confessed to these 3 crimes. They are so similar to the other crimes. We went back and asked Daniel, hey, you just got to do the right thing.
let it all out. So the one you did with me and Miss Brock? You did that?
And he slowly started to admit.
All right, man, let it out. It's all right. Philippine. Come on, I did that. You did that, Philippine? I did that. Shake my hand.
When you're dealing with a case like this, that's caused so much pain, so much grief, crime scenes are horrific. You feel repulsed to be in the company. You have to suppress those feelings of disgust and stay focused on why you're there.
Turn it down on him. Mercury for hygienic entry. To the garage.
He just didn't say, yeah, I done it. He gave details. He gave what weapon was used, how he did it, how he got in the house. That information was never released out to the general public, so only the killer would know what happened in these cases.
You gotta get it off your chest. You may even close your eyes at night now and not see what you saw. Not dream what you used to dream. Because you know you did the right thing. God knows you did the right thing, and your mama knows you did the right thing. You hear me? Don't ever forget that.
Now, at this point, he confessed to 5 homicides, but it's not over. The Bourgeois case was somewhat different from the others. No money was taken. There was similarities in the age of the victim, so we suspected that he was responsible, so we threw it out. Started asking him questions about Miss Bourgeois.
Danny, one more, last one, okay? Miss Bourgeois, last one, and we finished, it's over, we're done with, okay? Tell me what happened.
Miss Barbara Bourgeois was 58 years old. She lived alone, recently widowed. She worked for St. James Parish school system as a teacher's aide. Because she was such a great woman, we want justice for her to be able to bring her murderer to answer for this crime.
I mean, each and every day, naturally, we wanted somebody to be held accountable for what they did to my mother.
I didn't have nothing to do with that.
Daniel? Daniel? Come on,
I was being totally honest on that one. I don't even know nothing about that.
One more, last one, okay?
Now, at this point, he confessed to 5 homicides, but it's not over. The Bourgeois case was somewhat different from the others. No money was taken. There was similarities in the age of the victim, so we suspected that he was responsible, so we threw it out. Started asking him questions about Miss Bourgeois.
Miss Bourgeois, last one, and we finished, it's over, we're done with, okay? Tell me what happened.
Being able to get a confession on the Bourgeois case was gratifying.
Reality hit us. We were screaming, we were jumping up and down.
I remember it being like around 11:45 that night, and the phone rang, and Mickey said, "Cindy, that's Willie Martin." And I got on the phone with him, and he said, "Cindy, we got him." It was like, oh my God, okay, they got him. You know, my mom's gonna get justice for what has been done.
When we came out of that courthouse with him, every news media affiliate from Dallas to Lufkin to Fort Worth was on the steps of that courthouse.
I'm just glad that they found the person who did it.
Sentiment echoed throughout the river parishes. A long investigation leads authorities to East Texas and 35-year-old Daniel Blank.
He has confessed to the crimes of the 6 homicides as well as the 2 attempted homicides.
We walked him out in chains and shackles, put him in that unit, and we started heading back to New Orleans. And we rolling down I-10, and as we hit the line, there's units all down the interstate. And there's no better feeling. You're coming back to your parish, and you got this funk ball that killed all of these people, and we can say, hey, look what we did. You know, we did something that nobody else will probably ever do in their lifetime. We got a serial killer in the backseat of this car, and he's coming to little bitty old LaPlace where everybody thinks this kind of stuff can't happen. And we solved it.
The community and my family felt a little safer knowing that now he's caught and he's in jail where he belonged.
We got him. We know who did it, okay? And we're going to hold him accountable.
My mother had this smile that can just light up her room. Everybody says I look just like her. And I take that as a huge compliment. The police did what they had to do, and they were very determined. From the bottom of my heart, I think. But it'll still never be enough.
For more about Criminal Confessions, go to Oxygen.com.